The NFL season has officially begun, and I was right. The Packers lost a close game. Technically, I didn't actually pick them, but it was a coin toss. I actually did want to go with San Francisco, but I was scared simply because they are the Packers. And I think I gave them that respect out of reputation alone. My bad. And I was right about Atlanta, Minnesota, and Tampa coming away with wins. A lot of people did not think that that would happen. People have been really high on Cam Newton this season, but it takes more than Cam Newton to win. It takes a team. And their team was not enough to overcome Tampa. Minnesota won a very close game against Jacksonville, although there were a few unexpected things happening in that game. And Atlanta easily dominated the Chiefs. Mostly, I think, due to injuries. It probably would have been a much closer game if the Chiefs' defense had been full strength. But still, yeah, I knew Atlanta would come away with it. But, you know, I was wrong about San Francisco. I was more scared to bet against Aaron Rodgers than anything else. I forget that sometimes he is human. And I, like a lot of other people, questioned whether or not the 49ers defense would be able to continue their dominance from last year. They proved me wrong, and I am actually glad they did. And also, I would just like to say, what the fuck? Oh my god, the Jets. Did anyone expect that? I mean, Sanchez completing passes, you know, Sean Green is, oh my god. They actually established the ground game. They did good actually running the ball. And the biggest shock of all, the offense actually scored touchdowns. They made a statement. They made an opening day statement. But of course, they were playing the Bills. So let's not read too much into it. They look like a good team. But let's see how they do against, I don't know, New England. You know, let's wait till they play an actual playoff contender before we start crowning them championships. But I will admit, they did very well. They made an opening day statement. And speaking of people who made a statement, RG3 storming into the league. He was sensational. I think the bounty definitely had an impact on this team. I mean, if Sean Payton was there, you might have seen better play calling. The Saints might have done a better job running the ball, controlling the clock. I think we definitely would have seen less 3 and outs. There were so many of those, and that was completely unexpected from the Saints. And not to mention the defense. I mean, Jonathan Vilma, you know, the suspension got lifted, but he still didn't play anyways. He has now been placed on the PUP list. And they were missing their defensive coordinator. And I think both of those guys, if they had been there, they might have held RG3 down just enough that the Saints could have pulled it out. Jonathan Vilma, one of their leading tacklers. You know, I don't think you should hit the panic button yet. I mean, you still have Drew Brees. So Saints fans, your team is still in contention. There's still potential that they could go to the playoffs, but at the same time, yeah, that must have been a very disgusting game for you. That left a horrible feeling in my mouth. But I did enjoy watching RG3 just beat up on that defense. Though I would like to see how he does against a team that has an actual defense. You know, just saying, let's see what he does with DeMarcus Ware and Sean Lee bearing down on his ass. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And do not misunderstand what happened in Cleveland. The Eagles actually played pretty great, but the Browns have always had an underrated defense. Last year, if you look at the numbers, they didn't allow a lot of rushing touchdowns. They didn't allow a lot of passing yards. Joe Hayden, one of the best corners in the league right now, he's in my top 5. And I think the Eagles played pretty well, but the Browns defense, they stepped up to the challenge and kept their team in it. And, you know, it's going to get tougher now that Joe Hayden is out. He has officially been suspended by the league. And even if he wasn't, I don't expect the Browns to win anything anyways, because they still don't have a good offense, in my opinion, yet. But, you know, that defense really did play at a high level. it wasn't just Philly having an off day. You can give Cleveland some credit. They performed. And I just wanted to let you know that I so saw this coming. The Panthers lost to the Bucks. The Giants lost to the Cowboys. No one wanted to believe me. Everyone's up on Supercam. Everyone's saying that the Giants are going to repeat. And they didn't. They both lost. I was right. You were wrong. Deal with it. And also, the Steelers lost to the Broncos. It's not as surprising. I mean, they lost to Tim Tebow in the playoffs. You figured the Broncos with Peyton Manning would be able to do something, but there were a few doubters out there. So I feel the need to say, I told you so. I mean, I really did see this coming. And I would like to finish by saying, silly Ravens, you're old. I mean, you're supposed to be getting worse when you're older, not better. I mean, Ray Lewis had 11 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Ed Reed had a pick 6. I mean, not to mention that Joe Flacco throwing to Dennis Pitta kind of looks like Tom Brady throwing to Gronkowski. This team, I picked them to win the Super Bowl last season. And I think they're even without Terrell Suggs, they are in a better position to do that now than they were before. And the Bengals, they were a playoff team last year. Don't forget that. I think they've only improved. They added weapons to that secondary. You know, their offense is 1 year more mature, and I think that the law firm, I think he's an upgrade from Cedric Benson. You know, but the Ravens, their offense finally looks good. I mean, I don't think the Ravens have ever really had what would be considered a scary offense. It's always been about defense, and the offense just kind of keeps up with that. But for once, the Ravens actually looked like the offense carried the team and the defense just kind of backed them up. So yeah, I think that they could easily make another Super Bowl bid. I mean, they were only a couple of miscues away from being in the Super Bowl last year anyways. And after the first week, I am 12-4 on my predictions. So yeah, that was a pretty decent game. You know, 75% of the games I called them right. And since the Packers play the Bears on Thursday, I'll go ahead and just tell you my prediction right now so I don't have to go and make a whole nother video tomorrow. Based purely on last week's performances, I think the Bears are going to take this one. Because Cutler almost looked like Aaron Rodgers when the Bears won. And yes, you can say that technically they were playing a lesser team compared to Rodgers, who was going up against the 49ers defense. But also, you know, even if Cutler isn't on top of his game, that running attack could win it for them on its own. I mean, that combination of Forte and even a few carries from Michael Bush, that alone will keep the Bears in it. And when they get a lead, you know, they can keep the ball, run the clock, make it harder on the Packers, who have to face the Bears defense. You know, Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher, Julius Peppers, Charles Tillman. They have a lot of very great defenders out there. And they are looking like they might be able to take control of the division, at least early on. And the Bears have a much better defense than the Packers. So while the Packers might have a chance in it, they have a much harder opponent to face. So I'm going with the Bears to win this one. Packers fans, I really don't know what to tell you. Prove me wrong.